Well, certainly not the first time we have had the OHL commissioner on this show, but in all my years and all my conversations with the OHL commissioner, it's never been this OHL commissioner. Bryan Crawford assumes the reins after 45 years of David Branch. Let's start right. Well, first of all, I should start by welcome and thanks for the time for this.
Oh, thank you very much, Michael. My pleasure.
Following in the footsteps of what many will describe as a giant, how does it feel coming into the role after the only commissioner this league has ever known in David Branch?
Yeah, it's a tremendous opportunity to become involved in the family of the OHL and, take over for what is, a tremendous legacy that's been left by David. And it's quite honestly to have the opportunity to work with David, over the coming years, was he'll continue to be around as a consultant and involved in supporting the transition. It's surprisingly, it's actually not the first time that I've had the good fortune of following a 40 plus year leader. My previous role with the RBC King Open and PGA Tour, a gentleman by the name of Bill Paul, had been over 40 years with Golf Canada in that role, and so having the opportunity to have that experience and now having the opportunity to have this experience, I think the first has helped inform the most recent one a little bit as well.
Well, based on that, then, should we expect several decades of tenure from you in the OHL?
Well, I can tell you that I am too old to be able to put in 40 years of tenure. Certainly will not get to that, but I'm really looking forward to being able to now dig in and build off of the great foundation that the league has. Last year was one of the most successful for the league. It was the third all-time most attended season in OHL history, the most attended season since 2015. That is a great indicator of where the league is and where it's headed. And to be able to start from that position of strength and build upon some of the programming that's in place, and then also introduce new things and take a fresh approach and perspective. And I think that with the change, people generally have an openness to change that maybe they don't necessarily have when there isn't something that is foundational to people's thinking. And when there's a change at the top, ultimately people, I think, open themselves up to, okay, well, what's next? What are we going to do now?
You made reference to your most recent tenure in golf. You've got also a 7-year career as a professional football player in the Canadian Football League. So, what attracts a good old football and golf guy to the Ontario Hockey League?
So the interesting thing is no one would have called me a golf guy before going to the PGA Tour as someone who had never played a round of golf before they decided that giving the biggest golf tournament in the country and one of the bigger golf tournaments in the world to a non-golfer was the right thing to do. So I grew up as many young Canadians, a hockey player, playing in the rep system in Hamilton, growing up to, play junior and kind of early high school. And I didn't actually discover football until much later in high school. And I didn't start playing really till grade 12 of high school, and somehow found my way into having a professional career and a long career in football. So, first and foremost, I'm a lover of all sorts of different sports. I've played all different sports throughout my life and, follow sport at, all different levels and all different types of sports. So to me, it's not necessarily actually about the equipment or the playing surface. It's about what sport means to people, what it meant to me growing up, what it means to me now, what it means to communities. And I chose to work in sport because of that, because I fundamentally believe in its importance and the power that it has. And so starting off my career in my career in sport administration after spending, or I started while I was still playing. I spent 5 years working in university sport while playing football full time and doing both. It was a conscious choice because of that, belief and wanting to be involved in helping, drive our sports systems forward and give people opportunities and grow the games. So having the chance to work in a few different places, working in basketball, working in golf. When the opportunity arose to join what is, one of the more revered institutions in our country, and certainly one of the more important ones when it comes to hockey, was one that it was really exciting, and to build off of, as I mentioned earlier, those foundations that are in place and take it to a new level. It was really, one that, I couldn't, any sane person wouldn't pass up, of course, and be part of something that is so important to so many people and so many communities, here in Canada and Pennsylvania and Michigan and across, across North America and around the world, really, in junior hockey and as the pathway, for so many young people, not just in professional sports, but in their lives as well.
I think many can understand that sentiment of this being the sort of job, Bryan, that how could you possibly pass up? Of course, it's a little bit easier to say that today as we're having the conversation before the season begins and the criticisms begin because this punishment was doled out the wrong way. And oh, yeah, you're handing out a trophy and the fans are going to boo you. I'm sure you're ready for all of this along the way.
Oh yeah, I definitely, coming from the role that I was in there, I wasn't getting booed by anybody too often, which is a different thing to potentially have to deal with. That, my perspective is that, we have to ensure that we have a very clear, vision, a very clear mission and mandate, that we are making decisions based on what those things are, and that our strategies and tactics are clear and aligned and transparent and understood, and that all of the stakeholders within our community have bought into, and they've bought into because people support what they help build. And if we allow people to help us build this league in a meaningful way that can take it to greater places and higher heights and impact people more, then they're going to help us get there. And while not every decision is always going to be agreed with and mutually supported, I think that as long as you are building it for the right reasons in the right way, people can at least understand those things. And my goal is that we are going to do enough things that take us to places that we didn't think we were possible to get to before, that we're going to pick up a lot of supporters along the way.
What would you say the greatest strength of the Ontario Hockey League is as you come into this role?
The communities it's in, no question about it. We cover such a wide range of communities within this province here in Ontario, and then obviously stretching down into the United States. The role that the teams play in those communities, that we're certainly in all of our major markets, but being in mid-sized to small communities, that where the team is really a galvanizing force for the people in that community. I would say that something that's kind of struck me in the time that I've now been in this position is the number of people have come up to me and talked about the role that the club has played in their lives, either going to games or a friend or relative or neighbor or someone who played in the league, and like the connection to the league and how significant that is, even if they don't necessarily live in that community anymore. Like somebody that came up to talk to me that grew up in Sudbury and lives and dies by the pound, and they haven't lived in Sudbury in like 25 years. But their connection is that strong. And others that, growing up going to the game with my dad, or growing up, Friday nights and Saturday nights was about going to the game, and a connection to like I'm from London, and the Knights represent us, or I'm from Sudbury, right? And the Wolves represent what it means to be from that community. And so that's what I think is such a huge strength. And that ultimately that is the people that are involved in the league, supporting the league, going to the games, working for the clubs, billeting, our players, all of those sorts of pieces. That's the strength to me.
That's really interesting because I've got a couple of friends here in Kitchener, originally from the Sioux, and they proudly wear their Hounds jerseys to every game at the Odd when Sioux is here. We have a city councilor right now, Bryan, in Kitchener, who as a teen sold popcorn at the Peterborough Memorial Center and
There you
still
go.
feels conflicted when the Petes come to town. So
There you go. Exactly. And I think that is really special and is unique about our league. And I love that, coming from the CFL, like a uniquely Canadian thing. I love that. The things that are uniquely Canadian, that are uniquely ours. And major junior hockey, the CHL, the OHL are so uniquely Canadian and have such an important place in our culture. And I love that. I'm proud of that, and I'm really thrilled to have the opportunity to help make that even more meaningful. And coming from a community that unfortunately hasn't had major junior and OHL hockey consistently throughout my lifetime. I'm a born and bred Hamiltonian, and I've seen teams that have been here over the years, and AHL teams and such. So it's been knowing it from the periphery, and now getting a chance to be internal to it is pretty special opportunity and learning experience.
is there room, do you think, for this league to find its way into even more communities?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I think that, there's a lot of factors when it comes into thinking about how the league could grow in the future. And I'm not just talking about additional teams, but just grow in all aspects of running the league. As communities within the province and within, Michigan and Pennsylvania and Ohio or New York, or communities grow and expand and have the ability to support our organizations, right? Because you need people to support the teams, and you need corporate partners to support the teams. You need broadcasters, all those sorts of things. So that's a kind of a first thing, that as the communities grow, that have the ability to support a club. Perhaps even more important than that, of course, is the talent, right? We offer a product that is a finite resource, and that is premier hockey players. And we need to be able to support the growth and development of hockey players. And I believe that is a fundamental responsibility of ours, to help the grassroots system to be a leader in the hockey system, to grow the sport. And it expands to officials and coaches and business leaders. So you need to make sure that at no point are we jeopardizing the level of play in the league, the quality of the game, because that is the product, and we need to make sure that it is as high as it has been and greater in the future. So, those are two of the things that, need to be understood, that, your product is strong, your product is growing, and that you have communities that can support franchises, that have people that are, willing to be diehards, like we've talked about, and would be conflicted about cheering for another team. So it's something that I think we will, as a league, always continue to explore and be open to, and understand about how it can benefit growing our game, and allowing more people to become part of it.
The league maintains its footprint, Bryan, in the Greater Toronto area, albeit in Brampton this year, as the Steelheads make the move from Mississauga. This, though, as you would know, is a smaller footprint than it once was. There were 3 teams at one time in the GTA. And bluntly, as again, I'm sure you know, attendance has never been all that strong in the market. How important is the GTA to the overall health and strength of this league?
Yeah, I think that we have to continue to be strong in that market. There's no question about it. It's our most populous market in the province, in the country. It's one of the third biggest market in North America. So it is central to ensuring that we are strong with our partners, our fans, broadcasters, those sorts of things. Because the reality is, to your point, that there are lots of OHL fans living in the GTA that have moved from other parts of our league and other places in our league. And so to not have a presence in that market and an opportunity for those people to continue to be supporters and fans of the league, I think would certainly be a mistake on our part. I think that it is a challenging marketplace, because there is so much competition. As someone who has worked in that market and run a sport and entertainment property in that market, that you are competing with everything. everything that you can find anywhere in the world, practically, you're competing with. Obviously, professional leagues in every sport. You're competing with culture. You're competing with festivals every weekend. You're competing with all sorts of things that eat up people's time, right? Their time, their energy, their dollars. Like you only have so much time to commit to following something. And so that is a challenge in that market for sure. And we have seen, obviously, incredible success in mid-sized markets across the country as a CHL. And I think that'll, of course, continue to be our strength and the place of which kind of fuels the league. But certainly it cannot be completely devoid in what is the largest market in this part of the world, really.
Speaking of competition, virtually directly, as long as I've been in this league, there's been competition, for lack of a better word, with the NCAA for the very best players to compete in the leagues. And now the NCAA is moving in a direction that may allow players who one time competed in the CHL to actually sign and play NCAA hockey. Is that an opportunity or a threat for the OHL?
Yeah, no, I think it's a tremendous opportunity that, ultimately it's a good thing that young hockey players have greater diversity of choice and options to further their development pathways, both in hockey and in their academics and in their life. And I think that is always something that was somewhat peculiar, is why that necessarily existed. And I think that for us as a league, that presents a tremendous opportunity to continue to grow our sport and offer opportunities to the best players in the world, and help them achieve both their athletic and academic goals. So that it's an interesting development that we'll, of course, monitor closely, because it could have significant ramifications for the entirety of the development system of hockey. And so we'll obviously continue to respond accordingly and build what we control, and that's our league. And we'll focus on doing those things to make our league the best option, and continue to be the best option for players to achieve all of those things that I've mentioned previously.
Give me your elevator pitch. What makes the OHL the best option for a player right now?
Well, clearly, once again, it's the people that are in it. It's the coaching and support staffs. It's the trainers, and it's the history and culture and heritage of the league and it being established, and the people that have built it and support it and that are part of it today, that have clearly proven that the systems that are in place and the programs that have been developed over the years develop not just elite hockey players, but exceptional community members as well. Because not every player in our league is going to play in the NHL one day. We have been the #1 developer of those NHL players, and continue to be, and continue to invest in the things that make for great hockey players, both on and off the ice, developing them holistically, of course, as people and leaders, and not just as skaters, so to speak, but in all the aspects that make for an elite professional athlete. But also in developing people that become leaders in the communities in all different walks of life, in all different sectors, that the alumni of the league are kind of everywhere, and committing to supporting tremendous advances in their communities in all sorts of areas. So the elevator pitch for me is that the history, the reputation is there. It's clear, it's developed, it's established, it's proven. And for us, our role, our mandate is to develop young people, period. And I think that what the league has done over its history has proven that it can develop young people, and it can also, while doing that, develop exceptional hockey players as well.
How do you feel about the role of fighting in the game today?
Yeah, I think that is, the sport has continued to evolve, as all sports do. there is more of a premium on skill than there has been in the past, perhaps. And our league has evolved as hockey has evolved. At the end of the day, our priority, as I've mentioned, we're about developing young people, needs to be, first and foremost about protecting the health and safety of all of the people that are part of our league, while also understanding that it is a physical sport. It is a physical sport, and there are aspects of it that are rough and tough. And we have to understand that that's a part of hockey, and while understanding that we have a responsibility to ensure the health and safety of people and continuing to evolve as the sport of hockey has evolved internationally.
A lot of times when there's a change like this, Bryan, fans who are passionate about this game might think, oh, here's the new guy. He's going to come in, put a stamp on everything right away. Things are going to be drastically different. How do you approach your new role here as the commissioner of the Ontario Hockey League? And how will we recognize that this is now Bryan Crawford's league, so to speak?
Well, I mean, it's not my league by any stretch of the imagination. I get to fill a part of it, and help to try to galvanize all of the people that are part of it, towards singular visions. And so, by no means, would I ever look at it, as my league, so to speak. The thing that I have to do to start here is really listen, learn, and understand, right? I need to make sure that I hear from all of our stakeholders, from our fans to our owners to our partners, our community leaders, all of the people that are part of that OHL family, and understand where they're coming from, what their goals, objectives are, how they view the league, what they think it can be. So that's the first challenge, because there's a lot to learn coming into any role. There'd be a lot to learn, and coming into a role, as we started off the top, that is, taking over for someone who's been in it, and really been the only one ever in it, for 45 years. So, right off the bat, I have a very robust schedule through the entirety of the fall to visit all 20 markets in our league, and we'll do that, kind of between the start of the season and the middle of December, and meet with people, be in all the buildings, be in all the communities, and have a chance to really see it as closely as possible. And then, coming out of that is then to work together with all of those stakeholders to chart the course for what the next 5, 10, 15 years can look like for our league, and the sorts of things that we'll need to do to achieve the goals that we are going to set out as part of that vision. So there are a tremendous amount of opportunities and a tremendous number of things that we can tackle and do, and it's a matter of ensuring that we pick the right ones, and that we have the right buy-in and energy behind them to make sure that we can achieve the results that we are setting out to.
What would you say is the area of the league that might be the greatest opportunity for improvement?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, the business development of the league is a tremendous untapped opportunity. I think that there are opportunities in marketing and communications and broadcast and brand that, as a collection of teams and the league as a whole, can build off of the best in practices that we can share from team to team and across the league, league-wide initiatives, and ensuring that we are building from best practices from outside of our league as well, to grow the fan base, to reach out to new communities, to welcome more people in, to tell the stories of the league. This past year, $7 million raised for charitable and community initiatives through our league. Thousands of community visits and hours that our players and teams are spending time in. There's a story there that I don't think is told as well as we can tell it. And I think that is something that, we need to be out there celebrating, in our communities, of what this league actually is contributing beyond just providing, an entertainment option for people on a Saturday night or something. So I think that, building out that aspect of our league is a tremendous opportunity. the chance to, be a leader in the hockey system, or continue to be a leader in the hockey system and expand, what we're doing to, develop players, to develop officials, to develop coaches, to develop the structures of hockey, I think are all the things that make for a really exciting future.
Will we see you as involved as your predecessor in league decisions around discipline, suspension lengths, etc.?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, my job and this office's job is to ensure that we maintain, the best interests of the league as a whole. Like that is the first priority, and that we protect the league as a whole. When it comes to, kind of areas of discipline, we have now launched a Department of Player Safety, and we'll be building that out in the coming year and years. And certainly a large number of the disciplinary component to player safety will be handled in a slightly different way than it was perhaps handled before. Not to say that that changes the way that issues are adjudicated and reviewed, or suspensions that are handed out. But it'll certainly be kind of centralized and dedicated in a process that's built on the best practices that we've seen the NHL spend a decade, developing and understanding. And that is very much part of kind of the legacy of what David has put together and left for us to now implement. So that's a big kind of, we'll say, a change in the way that things will be handled structurally, but not necessarily one that is all that impactful for the average fan to see, that because it's being handled different procedurally than it may have handled in the past, doesn't necessarily change our stance on ensuring that we're protecting players' health and safety, that we're ensuring we're protecting the league, and that we're addressing issues that are harmful to it.
I think it's fair to say that hockey has been under more scrutiny than it ever has as a game and the culture within it. How seriously do you take the need to change the culture of the game that we're all so proud of as Canadians, but one that probably could evolve in that regard?
Yeah, I mean, it would be disingenuous for anyone to not recognize that there is a perception of the culture, and perception, some, is obviously based on some degree of reality that needs to be addressed and improved. And I think that it is unfortunate that what is, a minority of actions and perhaps individuals within the game and within hockey as the overarching connector here, have swayed the perception of the sport to be anything less than, the positive, outstanding contributor that it is, and the number of amazing people that are involved in the sport and involved in the league, and what it teaches people that are part of it, and the entertainment value that it is. Like, we are in a business to provide entertainment, and let's not forget the importance that plays in giving someone a chance to go down to the rink, on Friday night with friends, enjoy a game, be part of their community. Like, that is really important. That's an important mission of ours as well. And so, it is critical for us as a leader of the sport that we are doing all the right things to be a leader in our community, in our society, and ensuring that we are addressing issues head on, that we are implementing programs to improve and teach and educate. And so many of those things are already in place and are world class, like coming into it and seeing, our Players First program and the programs that we have in place to educate and support and train and develop our players, our young people. That, I think, once again, we need to tell a better story about these are things that are in place and have been in place for quite some time, and are addressing, issues that we need to address, and that are, driving towards, a much more positive, more inclusive, more diverse, more understanding, and a much better future than, some of the things that have happened perhaps in the past.
You very accurately described earlier the inconsistent presence of hockey in your native Hamilton. You are a grad, though, of Queens. Do the Kingston Frontenacs have a special place in your heart, Mr. Crawford?
Yeah, it's actually interesting. We had a nice relationship with the Frontenacs and the Gales, and we attended a number of games over my time at Queens. It was a great way to spend a night out, go to the game, and then go out afterwards. They also I was on a team that had been in the Yates Cup, and they had honored our team on the ice one year that we went to the old arena. Obviously, the new arena wasn't built back when I went to Queens, but yeah, so there was an interesting, connection there. And growing up as a young hockey player, having, our team went to a Rangers game one year when we were in a tournament in Kitchener-Waterloo. I think maybe Oktoberfest or something was the tournament we were in. And so I've always, like I said, as a young player growing up, like the OHL was an aspirational goal for all of us. And having had the chance to be in a number of buildings over the years and be a fan, was great. And as I said, most of my time, most of my life in Hamilton, the AHL had been part of the fabric of our community in Hamilton, and so now having a chance to truly be immersed in it is something I'm pretty excited for.
I can only imagine what the last number of months have been like for you since your hiring was announced. Here we are speaking just weeks before the puck drops to launch another season. How are you feeling?
Yeah, great. I mean, that's why we work in sport, right? To play the games and get the season started. And, obviously, what life is like when the season isn't underway and when it's underway are going to be dramatically different. As I mentioned, kind of my community tour is coming up to have a chance to get into all of these communities. I'm really looking forward to. So that's just a few weeks from ramping up and being underway. So, as I said, it was a great season for the league last year. When we look at the metrics, obviously having two teams in the Memorial Cup final, hosting an incredibly successful Memorial Cup, for the first time in the OHL outside of Ontario, the number of players, leading the world again in the number of players drafted to the NHL, all of those sorts of things. That speaks volumes about where the league currently is, and to be able to start from that place in the race versus trailing behind is obviously a pretty lucky spot for us to all be in, and to say, hey, like we can really keep this thing moving, with all the momentum that's behind it already.
We're always looking forward to the start of the season at this time of the year, and we certainly have a good one to follow up on. I don't know how you're going to top that, quite frankly, Commish. Like, really.
Well, I'll tell you, I got challenged the first year I got to Golf Canada, and we had a world number one, former Team RBC member, win the RBC Canadian Open. And I was challenged to say, well, how are you going to top that next year? And I was brash enough to say, no problem. And I'm not going to take any credit for being making this happen. But Rory McIlroy proceeded to win back-to-back RBC Canadian Opens. And well, how are you going to top that? And then Nick Taylor showed up and won for the first time in nearly 70 years. So if I can bring any of that, magic pixie dust with me and that good fortune, that would be pretty lucky on my part. But that's the goal, right? We need to figure out how to make our league more compelling, our stories more compelling, do a better job telling it, and they're all there for us. We just have to harness it.
It's duly noted, and now on the record. We'll roll back the tape as that pixie dust lands later on in the season. Okay.
That's the goal, right? We'll have to see at the end of the year, but no, I'm tremendously excited and looking forward to what we're all going to be able to continue to do together.
Once again, welcome aboard to the Ontario Hockey League. It's great to have you here, and I look forward to more conversations down the road. Thanks for this one.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mike. Really appreciate it.